I know there is plastic oceans out there. There's plastic the size of Luxembourg floating around the sea, but I'm quite interested in just doing what's local and this beautiful part of the world, the Pembrokeshire National Park. It sort of makes it even more pertinent, relevant that actually there's this terrible pollution happening in this paradise here, really. Yeah, I started picking up bits of plastic 10 years ago. Increasingly the beaches, after a big storm, will be covered in bits and pieces. And I just started picking them up and collecting them, taking them back to the barn, and photographing them with a little camera, just recording them in a little book. Yeah, at first when I would pick up these objects, plastic objects, I was just intrigued by the colour or the shape or what the object was. It could be an old toy or a toothbrush or sort of translucent sort of a cigarette lighter. But increasingly I started noticing the shape and the way nature had sculpted these pieces, and the scratch marks and the attrition caused by sand and sea. And I thought, actually, these are kind of mini landscapes. I'd always taken landscapes previously of man's impact on nature, and in a way this is sort of nature impacting on the man-made, and I like that idea. I wanted to explore that further. Sometimes the narrative is the most dominant thing. Like for a glove or a shoe or a bit of clothing, you're thinking, well, whose is this and where does it come from? And the story behind the object is perhaps the more interesting element. But other times I'm interested in the form and the shape, and there's some fragments of plastic and a colour which appeals to me from just a form perspective. So it varies, but often I find that sometimes the bland piece, the piece that you'd throw away, or maybe a vegetable carton or somebody's old lunchbox, that can have as much interest to me as a piece of amazing bit of bright fishing tackle or something, which there's already, you can't really add anything through the photography. My process has been to photograph them one-to-one, so real life size, and straight to lens, and very forensically, really. I haven't tried to load them with a lot of shadow or dramatic light. I've tried to let people see these things for what they are, to look at them very objectively first. I want people to look closely at these objects and the way the plastic breaks down, and so to look at the physicality of plastic, and also to see how nature inscribes itself. And so I shoot with this very, very detailed, very high-powered camera that allows you almost to see, it's extreme detail, just how the sea shapes objects, and it's a way of showing the natural forces and how they sculpt our world, and the power of them, really, the power of the sea. And 20, 30 years, some of these pieces have been in the sea for 30, 40 years, since the 60s, and to see how that slowly melts these things or turns them into natural fauna-like forms. This is extraordinary. This is it's an old fishing net that's got caught into plastic, and the plastic's almost looking like it's a rock itself now. This is what I mean by, the plastic taking on the forms of nature. And you could walk past this and just think it was a bit of rock, but actually it's plastic. Oil. Terrifying, but this is now really common. Some of the objects, almost look like they are from a previous civilization. I shot a piece called Glove, for example, which you're not sure whether it's a fossil or it's just been an old fishing glove thrown over from a trawler or something. But and I also shoot shoes. I'm interested in shoes because they have this kind of narrative, human narrative. Where have they come from? Who's been wearing them? Which part of the world have they come from? Have they come from, some of them I find with barcodes from Japan or from China, or from Russia? How long has it taken these pieces to get from Russia to a little bay in Pembrokeshire and West Wales? And that fascinates me. This is a shoe I found on our local beach here, and it's kind of weird. It looks like almost Japanese or Victorian or something, but there's a darkness to it that I like. This is a squashed flower pot. Sometimes I find that the most mundane objects turn out to be the nicest pieces of work. I think it's that thing of taking something that's really dull and boring that you'd walk past and give it some kind of significance. As part of the residency with the National Museum and Orrery Park Gallery here in St David's, I've asked the public, we've got the public out picking plastic for us. So it's going to be interesting to see just what they find, and I've noticed we've got about 20 bags already. But it'd be interesting because it may be that people pick up stuff that I wouldn't normally pick up, and that's going to be a challenge and interesting for me. It might make me look at pieces I wouldn't normally photograph, which would be great.